start recording. You will press button.
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. This evening we will have another question answer session. So I have got some questions here which I will read and try to answer them. So the first question is, wanted to know what are the other spiritual books one should read other than Sri Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the most fundamental book one should read, or one should not just read, one should study in order to begin spiritual life. And then there are other books, especially in this age. It is recommended that apart from Bhagavad Gita, one should study Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is like an encyclopedia of spiritual life. It is actually a conversation between one emperor, Parikshit Maharaj, and the greatest transcendentalist, Shukadev Goswami. So Parikshit Maharaj is asking questions and Shukadev Goswami is giving reply to Parikshit's questions, and it is covering many topics. The total number of verses itself in the Srimad Bhagavatam is 18,000, whereas in the Bhagavad Gita it is just 700 verses. So Bhagavatam is much bigger and more detailed. So that's why I said it is like an encyclopedia of spiritual life. So these two are the most important scriptures, particularly for this age, our present age. Next question. Could you kindly explain if the 5 topics described in Bhagavad Gita, Jiva, Ishvara, Prakriti, Kala and Karma, why karma is temporary and others are considered eternal? In the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada has written an introduction in his Bhagavad Gita as it is. In the introduction, Srila Prabhupada explains there are 5 main topics in the Bhagavad Gita. So the 5 main topics, first topic is Ishvara. Ishvara means the Supreme Lord. Who is the Supreme Lord? Or who is God? Or who is the absolute truth? And the second topic is who is the Jiva, the living being. The Bhagavad Gita explains every living being is Atma, is an individual soul, and there are countless living beings in different bodies. So the living being is also described in the Bhagavad Gita. Then there is description of Prakriti. Prakriti is this nature material nature. So material nature is also explained. Then there is kala or time. Everything is going according to kala. And finally there is karma. Among these 5 topics, 4 are considered to be eternal. Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, of course, is eternal. He always exists. He is always the Lord. He is always the Supreme Controller. Jiva, the living being, the spirit soul is eternal. For the spirit soul, there is no death, there is no birth, there is no change. It's only the body which is taking birth, and the body is finished at the time of death. It perishes. So, and different bodies are there, and bodies changing. So the soul inside the body, or the real living person, living being, is eternal. Body is not eternal. Prakriti, material nature, even though material nature is also changing, but the material energy of which this material nature is constituted, that material energy always exists. So at the time of creation, this material energy is manifested as the different elements, and the elements combine, and there are so many varieties of material objects. But at the time of dissolution of the whole creation or material universe, the elements are, all the objects are separated to elements, and the elements go back to their original state of material energy. So the energy is always existing. It is eternally existing, the material energy. Then kala, time is also eternal, exactly according to the time factor. There is creation, there is maintenance, there is destruction. So after destruction, there is no activity in this world for some duration, and again after a duration, again there is creation. So this creation, maintenance and destruction is going on perpetually according to time, according to kala. So kala is also eternal. Kala is always existing. And then karma is a living being's past actions based on which there are reactions. Now these reactions the living being has to experience over a certain period of time. So if somebody keeps on doing certain type of activity, ordinary activity, they keep on getting more and more reactions, and those reactions are actually accumulated. And unless one takes to devotional service, they remain in the cycle of birth and death, because they have to experience the reactions. So to stop these reactions, to act in such a way that whatever activities or actions we perform will not have reactions, means we have to do devotional service. If we do devotional service, there will be no reactions. And if there are no reactions and all the past activities, reactions are finished, then one does not take birth again. Karma is finished. Once karma is finished, then there is no more rebirth for that living entity whose karma is finished. So karma is temporary. Karma is not eternal. Even though we cannot trace how long we have been in this world, how long we have been taking birth again and again and again. We cannot trace the beginning of karma. But it is called beginningless karma. But karma can be terminated if we take to devotional service and stop all types of material activities which have reactions. We don't do any material activities. We do only devotional service. So completely engaging in devotional service, we become free from karma. So karma can be terminated, and that is why karma is temporary. It is not eternal. Next question. The soul is atomic in size. Soul is atomic in size. That's the mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, explained by Srila Prabhupada, and can be perceived by perfect intelligence. This atomic soul is floating in 5 kinds of air: prana, apana, vyana, samana, and udana. And it is situated within the heart, and it spreads its influence all over the body of the embodied living entities. When the soul is purified from the contamination of the 5 kinds of material air, its spiritual influence is exhibited. Can you please explain this statement? Yes. So, as you have heard earlier, each one of us, we are spirit soul, in the body. And this body is complex. It is not something very simple. It is quite complex. This body is made up of the senses, the mind, the intelligence, and the ego or the false ego, ahankara. So the body itself, the physical body, it is working because of the circulation of something called pranavayu, life air. It is the vital energy inside this body. If you ever wondered how is it that the heart is continuously pumping blood, so the blood circulation is there throughout the body, how is the heart working as a pump for the blood to circulate? It is because of the energy called pranavayu, life air, vital air or vital energy. So this pranavayu is of 5 kinds, because there are 5 different kinds of actions of this pranavayu. So the soul actually is described here as atomic in size, means it's very, 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 very tiny. If you want to know the size, it is described, the soul is 1/10,000th part of the tip of the hair point in size. It is very, very small. If you take the tip of the hair point and that is divided into 10,000 parts, then one such part is described as the size of the soul. And it is not enough to just consider the size of the soul as 1/10,000th part of the tip of the hair point, but it is also, the soul is not a material substance. It is completely spiritual. So simply trying to see the soul by some microscope or some kind of magnifying device, no. The soul cannot be seen in that way because it is not a material object. It is not material substance. It is completely spiritual. Therefore, the soul has to be realized. Realize means to be able to perceive something which is not to be experienced by our senses, something which we cannot perceive or conceive in our mind, something which we cannot conceive with our intelligence. So that kind of substance, the soul, the spiritual substance, only way is to actually realize the soul by the process described in the Bhagavad Gita. So we have to hear about the soul from the topmost authority, Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have to hear from him. And we have to actually, by hearing, we are able to get enlightenment. Because we are that soul. Each one of us, we are soul. And therefore, it is possible if we hear and try to understand and try to follow the process of realization, self-realization. We follow the process, then we become realized. We are able to perceive ourselves, we are able to perceive God, the Supreme Soul, and we are able to perceive everything about the spiritual reality. So therefore, the soul is atomic in size and it is floating in the 5 kinds of air. That means I as the soul, I am seated in this body and the body is working because of the circulation of these 5 kinds of vital energy or vital air, life air, pranavayu. And as long as we have material desires, we have to be existing, we have to live in a particular type of body. And for the body to work, there has to be this arrangement of this pranavayu circulation to keep the body working. But if we purify the material contamination in our heart, then we become free from this contamination of the 5 kinds of vital air. Then we are able to get freedom from this bodily engagement. So therefore it is said, when the soul is purified from the contamination of the 5 kinds of air, then its spiritual influence is exhibited. Spiritual influence means the soul is independent of the body. The soul actually is, soul means I or you or any person. You or I, we are independent of this body. But as long as we have any material contamination in the heart, material conception or material desires or material enjoyment, then we cannot be free from this body. As long as this body is there, we have to actually remain within the body. And when the body actually perishes, then we have to accept another body according to the laws. So to stop this repetition of birth and death is possible by purification of the material contamination in the heart. And therefore, the process of purification is to perform devotional service. By performing devotional service, we can actually purify the material contamination and we can get out of this body and actually go to the spiritual world where there is no necessity of any material arrangement, any material body, any material energy, nothing of that sort. Next question. Krishna being the highest in knowledge of the field of activities, why he explains it referring to the Vedanta-sutra. Yes, in the 13th chapter, Krishna is telling Arjuna, when he is describing what is the field of activities, he is referring to the description of the field of activities as given in the Vedanta-sutra. Vedanta-sutra is compiled it is compiled by Sri Vyasadeva to explain the fundamentals of the Vedanta philosophy, the philosophy of the Vedic literature. So in that Vedanta Sutra, the entire summary of the entire Vedic knowledge pertaining to the spiritual reality, the spiritual knowledge is summarized very nicely in the Vedanta Sutra. So therefore, Vedanta Sutra is the most authoritative explanation about all these subjects which are discussed in the Bhagavad Gita also. Therefore, Krishna is referring to the Vedanta Sutra, but Krishna himself explains what is his field of activity in the 13th chapter in the Bhagavad Gita. He is referring to the Vedanta Sutra to help us understand that Vedanta Sutra is the most standard, authoritative source for understanding the philosophy of the Vedic knowledge. That's why he is referring to it. By referring to that, he is helping us understand that what Krishna is explaining is not different or not contradictory to what is explained in the Vedas, particularly in the Vedanta Sutra. It's the same explanation. Next question. Is it possible for a person who is not conversant in spiritual knowledge, but just faithfully hearing from the authoritative persons of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, transcend the path of birth and death? How is it possible? So the Bhagavad Gita recommends that for those who are not able to study the Vedas and understand the philosophy, for them they simply have to hear from a proper source. Simply by hearing, they gradually become enlightened. It's like even a small child, when it begins to start speaking, say about 2 years or a year and a half, it starts speaking. It starts asking its parents, what is this? So the parents will tell, this is table. So it learns simply by hearing, this is table. What is this? This is a book. So it learns, this is a book. So simply by hearing and repeating. But such inquiring, hearing and repeating has to be done from the proper source. So as long as the source is proper, anybody can learn in this way. And this is the real way of learning. In fact, the entire Vedic knowledge in the beginning of creation was actually transmitted by hearing, by speaking and hearing. Krishna first spoke the entire Vedic wisdom to Lord Brahma, who was the first created being at the beginning of this creation. Brahma simply heard from Krishna, and by hearing, Brahma became enlightened. Then Brahma spoke to his sons and disciples, and they also heard from Brahma, and they also made inquiries, just like Arjuna is making inquiries in the Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna is replying to Arjuna's, or Krishna is speaking, and Arjuna is becoming enlightened. So like that, this is the perfect and the proper process. So anybody, even if they are not able to study or read specifically because it is difficult philosophy, they can simply hear, and simply by hearing, they do become enlightened. From within the heart, Krishna will actually enlighten them. Krishna is seated in the heart. Krishna sees somebody is inquisitive, somebody is eager, somebody is sincere to know about God, about the ultimate goal of life. Who am I? What is this world? Where have I come from? What happens after death? All such questions which are natural inquiries by a human being. Every human being has got the developed intelligence to make these fundamental inquiries. So for these inquiries, when one becomes eager to understand or know, or actually makes inquiries from the right source and hears the proper knowledge about all these questions, proper answers for all these questions, then definitely they become enlightened. And it's always been happening since the beginning of creation. Only in recent times, the Vedic knowledge was put down in writing. Because people's memory in this Kali Yuga will not be very good. Therefore, Vyasadeva put down in writing. Otherwise, there is no need for any written books or written literature. Simply, before this Kali Yuga, the disciple would inquire from the spiritual master, hear the spiritual master, and just commit to memory, and then contemplate on that and learn about the spiritual reality simply by inquiring, hearing, contemplating, asking further questions or inquiries like that. But now, since it is Kali Yuga and people's memory is not so good, therefore Vyasadeva put things in writing, and it is available in the form of literature, Vedic literature, written form. And these written literature also are explained by authorized teachers, authorized spiritual masters, acharyas. They explain. So like this knowledge is actually always available for those who want to know. So simply by hearing, yes, one can actually realize the absolute truth, and by realizing the absolute truth, one becomes eligible to go to the spiritual kingdom of God. Next question. Out of all rasas, which is the highest? This is a little technical question. Rasa means it is described in the scriptures with regard to spiritual life. In spiritual life, we understand that I am spirit soul, Krishna is the supreme spirit, and I have a relationship with him. That relationship is a relationship of love. So this loving relationship is possible in different varieties of relationship. Just like even in this world, we have different kinds of relationships. Just like we have a relationship of parents and children, or father and son, or mother and son, or father and daughter, like that. That is one kind of relationship. Then there is husband and wife relationship. Then there is relationship between two people as friends, or relationship between two people as master and servant. Like that, there are different types of relationships. Even with Krishna, there are different types of relationships. So in each relationship, the devotee renders service to Krishna out of love, and Krishna accepts the service of the devotee and reciprocates, and that reciprocation between the devotee and Krishna gives rise to what is called as rasa. Rasa means it is a mellow taste of a loving relationship. So that rasa is something which one can relish in a relationship. Just like the experience of a mother when she actually relates with her child, the experience of the loving exchange, that is one type of mellow taste in the relationship. That's called rasa. So different kinds of rasas are there, of which there are primarily 5 kinds of rasa. That is explained in the devotional literature, especially one book called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So Bhakti Rasa is actually the mellow taste of devotional service to Krishna. So this Bhakti Rasa is of 5 different varieties. There is Shanta Rasa, when somebody appreciates Krishna's greatness, Krishna's wonderful qualities, Krishna's beautiful form, Krishna's wonderful pastimes, activities, and Krishna's opulences, Krishna's knowledge, Krishna's fame, Krishna's renunciation. All these things, when one gets proper knowledge about Krishna from the proper source and develops a deep appreciation for Krishna's greatness. We say God is great, but people generally do not know how great is God. So when one comes to know God is the greatest, supremely great. How great? Nobody is equal to God. Nobody is equal to Krishna. Nobody is greater than Krishna. And everyone else, in comparison with Krishna's greatness, everyone else is very, 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 very insignificant. So when we come to know truly of Krishna's greatness, then the appreciation for Krishna is so much that the devotee begins to experience the mellow taste of appreciating Krishna's greatness, that I belong to that supreme personality, Lord Krishna, who is so kind to me, who is personally available for me, with whom I can connect, who is my maintainer, who is my topmost well-wisher, who is eternally my Lord. So this knowledge itself, this deep appreciation, gives rise to what is called as Shanta Rasa. Then there is Dasya Rasa, where a devotee renders active service to Krishna, not for any specific benefit from Krishna, because Krishna unconditionally maintains everyone. He is the only maintainer of everyone. So he maintains regardless of whether we serve him or don't serve him. But if we render some devotional service to Krishna out of recognizing Krishna's greatness and Krishna's kindness and Krishna maintaining us unconditionally, so why not I render some service to Krishna? Not because Krishna is in need. Krishna is not in any need of any of our service. He is self-sufficient completely. So even then, out of love for Krishna, out of gratitude, out of appreciation, we render some active service to Krishna, Krishna accepts it, even though he is not in need. And when Krishna accepts, the devotee becomes very, very, very pleased within the heart. So that is called dasya rasa, the mellow taste of rendering active service to Krishna, with Krishna as master and I am the servant. Now when we say servant, I am the servant of Krishna, we should not have any conception of a servant in this world, material world. In ordinary life, there are servants and there are masters. And this being servant of Krishna is not like that at all. Here the master is receiving some service from a servant because the master is in need of that service. And the servant is serving because the master gives him some salary or some money or some facility. Some exchange is there in that service, in the service in this world. But with Krishna, already Krishna is the maintainer, already Krishna is the best well-wisher, already Krishna is unconditionally maintaining us, providing us whatever we need or we require. So never do service, devotees don't do service to Krishna because Krishna is in need or because of any kind of material deal. There is no material business or material exchange. So therefore, such service, devotional service, rendered to Krishna with the devotee as the servant and Krishna as the master, this kind of service, devotional service, is the way of experiencing what is dasya rasa. There's a special mellow taste of this kind of service. Then there is sakhya rasa, where one serves Krishna as a friend, renders devotional service to Krishna as a friend, just like Arjuna. Arjuna is Krishna's friend, but the friendship is not like our friendship in this world. No, it is completely different. Again, it is without any expectation of anything in return. Neither Krishna is in need, nor the devotee expects anything in return from Krishna for the service rendered. So in this friendly relationship, such a devotional service, one can experience what is sakhya rasa. And then there is vatsalya rasa, just like Mother Yashoda is rendering service to Krishna as Krishna's mother, or Nanda Maharaj is serving Krishna as Krishna's father. So one can serve Krishna as Krishna's parents. So that is vatsalya rasa. The devotee experiences vatsalya rasa. And the highest, topmost of all rasas is madhurya rasa, where the young gopis, they serve Krishna as their most beloved, as the beloved Lord. So purely out of love for Krishna, simply to give pleasure to Krishna, they serve as Krishna's beloved. So that is madhurya rasa. That madhurya rasa is the highest rasa among the 5 rasas. Next question. According to science, Haribol, according to science, a kind of force, gross force, is required to move an object. But in our case, we don't feel any force, but still we move. Can you please explain? We don't feel any force, still we move. Okay, our ability to walk on our own without help of any machine, our body itself is a machine. We should understand that. Supposing I am walking on my legs, then our body itself is a machine. There is a whole arrangement inside this body. So, this body is a machine. Of course, we are given limited control over this bodily machine, that I can move my legs, I can lift my legs, I can stand on my feet, etc., etc. But there is an arrangement. And what about the energy for moving or for walking? That energy is, again, as I explained, it is a pranavayu which is circulating in the body. I move my hand because of pranavayu. I can move my legs, I can walk on my feet or stand on my feet because of pranavayu. So the pranavayu is there. As long as I am spirit, soul, I am in this body, the pranavayu is there. So that pranavayu is the basis for this body to work, function, and that pranavayu is the basis for our heart to pump blood. That pranavayu is the basis for us to move our legs or move our hands or anything, any movement within the body. I am vibrating my tongue and I am speaking by exercising my vocal cords. So that's also due to pranavayu. So that pranavayu is like an electric current within this body, which is energizing everything. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.